Hi everyone, today we will discuss about different types of bioavailabilities and factors affecting of bioavailability, the calculation of bioavailability, absolute versus relative bioavailability, the effect of time profiles and measurement of bioavailability and plasma level and urinary excretion studies. Types of bioavailability, absolute bioavailability and relative bioavailability. Absolute bioavailability. Absolute bioavailability is a measure of the given drug absorbed systemically after oral administration compared to its intravenous administration. సో ఇక్కడ అబ్జల్యూట్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీ అంటే సో మనం కంపారిజన్ చేస్తాం దాంతో ఓరల్ అండ్ ఐవి. సో ఇక్కడ ఓరల్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అమాక్సిలిన్ డ్రగ్ తీసుకున్నాం అనుకోండి, సేమ్ ఐవి కూడా అమాక్సిలిన్ డ్రగ్గే తీసుకోండి. సో వీటి రెండింటి మధ్య మనం కంపారిజన్ చేయాలి. సో ఇక్కడ కంపారిజన్ స్టాండర్డ్ వచ్చేసి ఐవి. సో దీంట్లో వచ్చేసి మనం ఓరల్గా తీసుకున్న అండ్ ఐవిగా తీసుకున్న మన సిస్టమిక్ సర్క్యులేషన్లో డ్రగ్ ఎంత అబ్జర్వ్ అయింది చెప్పడానికి మనం అబ్జల్యూట్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీ చెక్ చేస్తాం. సో ఇక్కడ అబ్జల్యూట్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీని మనం ఎలా డినోట్ చేస్తామంటే అబ్జల్యూట్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీ ఎఫ్గా మనం డినోట్ చేస్తాం అనమాట. సో ఇక్కడ ఫార్ములా వచ్చేసి అబ్జల్యూట్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీ ఎఫ్ ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్ టు ఏయూసి ఓరల్ ఇంటూ డోస్ ఐవి upon AUC IV into dose oral into 100. Relative bioavailability. Relative bioavailability is a measure of the given drug absorbed systemically after oral administration compared with that of an oral standard of the same drug. Example, comparison between amoxicillin capsule and amoxicillin suspension. So ఇక్కడ కండిషన్ ఏంటంటే రిలేటివ్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీ అంటే మనం ఓరల్గా ఏదైతే డ్రగ్ తీసుకుంటున్నామో సేమ్ ఐవి ద్వారా కూడా అదే సేమ్ డ్రగ్ తీసుకోవాలి. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనం ఓరల్గా అమాక్సిలిన్ క్యాప్సూల్ తీసుకుంటే ఐవి ద్వారా మనం సేమ్ అమాక్సిలిన్ సస్పెన్షన్ మాత్రమే తీసుకోవాలి. సో అప్పుడు వీటి రెండింటి మధ్య కంపారిజన్ చేసేదాన్ని మనం రిలేటివ్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీ అంటాం అనమాట. సో రిలేటివ్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీ ఎఫ్ఎన్ ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్ టు ఏయూసి టెస్ట్ ఇంటూ డోస్ స్టాండర్డ్ అపాన్ ఏయూసి స్టాండర్డ్ ఇంటూ డోస్ టెస్ట్ ఇంటూ 100. సో మనం ఓరల్గా తీసుకున్న డ్రగ్ అండ్ ఐవి ద్వారా తీసుకున్న డ్రగ్ మన బాడీలో సిస్టమిక్ సర్క్యులేషన్లో ఎంత అబ్జర్వ్ అయింది చెక్ చేయడానికి మనం రిలేటివ్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీని చెక్ చేస్తాం అనమాట. సో మనం రెండు అబ్జల్యూట్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీ అండ్ రిలేటివ్ బయో అవైలబిలిటీ ఆర్ ఎక్స్ప్రెస్డ్ ఇన్ పర్సంటేజెస్. సో మనం ఏది క్యాలిక్యులేషన్ చేసినా కానీ దీన్ని మనం పర్సంటేజ్లోనే చూపించాలి. Next, factors affecting bioavailability. Mainly physiological factors are pH of stomach and intestine, surface area of the intestine, presence of carrier proteins for absorption and exsorption, and enzymes, GI blood flow, and gastric emptying and intestinal transit. Next factor is physicochemical properties of the drug. First one is pKa, water lipid solubility, molecular size, stability in GI environment, and specificity for carrier proteins and enzymes, and route of administration. The next main important pharmacokinetic parameters are AUC. AUC means area under the concentration time curve. It measures of the extent of bioavailability. Next, Cmax. The Cmax the observed maximum concentration of drug. So this one is measures of both the rate of absorption and the extent of bioavailability. So third one is Tmax. The time after administration of drug at which Cmax is observed. It measures of the rate of absorption. Next is methods for assessing bioavailability. Mainly we are checking in pharmacokinetic methods. In these methods we will check plasma level time studies and urinary drug excretion. In this plasma level time studies, we will check a time for peak plasma concentration, that is Tmax. Second one is peak plasma drug concentration, that is Cmax. Third one is area under plasma drug concentration time curve, that is AUC. In urinary drug excretion, we will check a cumulative amount of drug excreted in urine, that is DU. The second one is rate of drug excretion in urine, that is DDU upon DT. And third one is time for maximum urinary excretion. Before we are going to discuss these methods, first of all we will check how to calculate AUC. So please go through this video. You can understand how to calculate AUC.
Calculation of area under curve. Area under curve indicates the total amount of the drug absorbed into the systemic circulation. So if we are giving a dose X0, X0 is directly proportional to the AUC. As the dose increases, the area under curve also increases until unless there is no saturation mechanism of absorption. So with the linear kinetics, as the dose increases, area under curve also increases. So now in this video, let us see how can we calculate the area under curve based on the dose of the drug, clearance, as well as the other pharmacokinetic parameters of the drug. So let us start with a working example 1. The AUC of a 400 mg of a drug given by oral route having 10 liter per hour clearance if 90% of the drug absorbed is. So here let us see first of all what is the data that is given. The first data is the dose. Dose X0 is equal to 400 mg. And clearance CL is equal to 10 liter per hour. And the fraction of the drug absorbed F is equal to 90%. That means 0.9. Now what we require is the AUC. What is the area under curve for this drug? So let us see the solution to this working example 1. Again, let us see what is the data given. So dose is given, clearance is given, as well as the fraction absorbed is given. Now, which formula we have to use? We know that whatever the total amount of the drug absorbed is directly proportional to the AUC. That is F into X0 is equal to AUC into clearance, where F is the fraction of the drug absorbed and X0 is the dose and AUC is the area under curve and CL is the clearance. And by using this equation, we can easily calculate the AUC because we have given the F value, X0 value, as well as the clearance value. So now just substituting in this equation, 0.9 into 400 is equal to AUC into 10. Otherwise, AUC is equal to 0.9 into 400 by 10. So by solving this, we will get the AUC as 36 mg per liter into R. Now you can see that the units for the AUC are the concentration into time, mg per liter into R. So now for the given example, the AUC is the 36 mg per liter into R. Now let us take another example, working example 2. A dose of 500 mg of a drug with elimination rate constant as 0.1 R inverse was given by oral route to achieve therapeutic concentration. If volume of the distribution of the drug is 50 liter and 80% of the drug is absorbed, calculate the AUC of the drug. Here the different parameters are given. Again, let us list out what is the data that is given in the question. So dose is x naught is equal to 500 mg, and here elimination rate constant Ke is given, which is 0.1 R inverse, and fraction absorbed F is equal to 80%, that is 0.8, and volume of distribution Vd is equal to 50 liters. And again we have to calculate AUC. So now let us see the solution to this working example 2, and let us distort the data given. So dose is given, elimination rate constant is given, fraction absorbed is given, and volume of distribution is given. Here clearance is not given in the question. So what we have to do? Again we have know the equation F into x naught is equal to AUC into clearance, but here clearance is not given. How can we calculate the clearance? And we know one more equation, clearance is equal to Ke into Vd, elimination rate constant into volume of distribution. Now if we substitute this clearance equation in the previous equation, now we can write a final equation, F into x naught is equal to AUC into Ke into Vd. Now all the parameters are given like F, x naught, Ke and Vd, so we can calculate the AUC directly by using this equation. Now let us list out the data again given. Dose x naught is given, elimination rate constant, fraction of the drug absorbed, and volume of distribution. All these parameters are given. Now by substituting these values in the equation, 0.8 into 500 is equal to AUC into 0.1 into 50. Otherwise AUC is equal to 0.8 into 500 by 0.1 into 50. So solving this, we'll get the value as 80 mg per liter into R. In this way we can calculate the clearance value from the elimination rate constant Ke as well as the volume of distribution Vd. Clearance is equal to Ke into Vd. Once we know the clearance, we can calculate the AUC from the main equation, F into x naught is equal to AUC into clearance. Working example 3. Calculate the dose of a drug with half-life of 0.7 R that is required to administer to attain AUC of 25 mg liter inverse R. The volume of the distribution of the drug is 20 liter and 90% of the drug is absorbed. So here again the question is in a different format. The clearance is not given as well as elimination rate constant is also not given, but half-life is given. So let us see first of all what is the data. So let us list out the data given. T half is equal to 0.7 R and AUC is equal to 25 mg liter inverse R, and volume of distribution is 20 liters and fraction absorbed is equal to 90%, that is again 0.9. And here we have to calculate the dose x naught. So from the AUC, now we are going to calculate what is the dose that should be given to achieve the required AUC within the blood. And sometimes in such type of calculations we have to check the unit given to the different parameters. Here the AUC is given as 25 mg liter inverse R and volume of distribution is also given as a 20 liter. So in both of these, liters are used. Similarly, half-life is in the R, again the AUC R. So because units are in a similar way, there is no need to convert the units, we can directly proceed with the calculation. So once we calculate, the dose will be obtained in the terms of mg. Now let us see the solution to this working example 3. If we again list out the data given, T half is given, AUC is given, volume of distribution as well as the fraction of the drug absorbed is given. Now which equation we have to use? Again we can use the equation F into x naught is equal to AUC into Ke into Vd. But here volume of distribution is given but elimination rate constant is not given. How can we obtain the elimination rate constant? And in the data, instead of the elimination rate constant, we are given with the half-life value of the drug. And we know the one of the equation K is equal to 0.693 by T half. Elimination follows the first order kinetics where the elimination rate constant is equal to 0.693 by half-life. So now by using this equation we can calculate the Ke value, which we can then substitute in the main equation to calculate the dose that to be given to achieve a certain AUC. So now let us calculate first of all Ke value. K is equal to 0.693 by T half. So by substituting in this equation, now K is equal to 0.693 by 0.7. Half-life is given as a 0.7 R. So now by calculating this, we will get 0.99 R inverse. That is the Ke value. Now once we get the Ke value, we can substitute in the main equation. F into x naught is equal to AUC into Ke into Vd. Now substituting in this equation, 0.9 into x naught is equal to 25 into 0.99 into 20. Otherwise, x naught is equal to 25 into 0.99 into 20 by 0.9. By calculating and simplifying this, we will get the x naught is equal to 550 mg. So if 550 mg of the dose should be given to achieve the final AUC of 25 mg per liter into R. In this way, we can calculate the AUC by remembering this equation. F into x naught is equal to AUC into clearance, otherwise AUC into K into Vd. So we can modify this equation in any way and we can easily calculate the either AUC or dose or volume of distribution by using any other parameters in the equation. And this equation can also be extended to the multi-dose drug administration. If a drug is given at a particular dosing interval multiple times, it achieves a steady state concentration where AUC is equal to the steady state concentration into dosing interval. So now in this equation, AUC can be replaced with the CSS, that is a steady state concentration into dosing interval, which is used to estimate the total amount of the drug that is going to be absorbed into the systemic circulation. In this way, F into x naught is equal to AUC into clearance, otherwise F into x naught is equal to AUC into Ke into Vd, otherwise F into x naught is equal to CSS into tau into clearance. All these are the similar equations that can be used in the different situations.
Again we come back, the plasma level time studies. This method is based on the assumption that two dosage forms that exhibit superimposable plasma level time profiles in a group of subjects should result in identical therapeutic activity. Here we will check two studies. One is single dose study, another one is multiple dose study. First of all, we will discuss single dose study. In this single dose study, first of all, this method requires collection of serial blood samples for a period of 2 to 3 biological half-lives after drug administration. Their analysis for drug concentration and making a plot of concentration versus corresponding time of sample collection to obtain the plasma level time profile. Next, we will give with IV dose, sampling should start within 5 minutes of drug administration and subsequent samples taken at 15-minute intervals. To adequately describe the disposition phase, at least 3 sample points should be taken if the drug follows one compartment kinetics and 5 to 6 points if it fits 2 compartment model. In this plasma level time studies, we have 3 parameters which are considered important for determining bioavailability. That are previously we discussed about Cmax, Tmax, and AUC. You know about Cmax, what is Cmax, and what is Tmax, and AUC. But I will explain again here. Cmax is the peak plasma concentration that gives an indication whether the drug is sufficiently absorbed systemically to provide a therapeutic response, and it is a function of both the rate and extent of absorption. And Cmax will increase with an increase the dose as well as with the increase the absorption rate. The Tmax is the peak time that gives an indication of the rate of absorption. It decreases as the rate of absorption increases. Here the AUC is the area under the curve, the area under the plasma level time curve that gives a measure of the extent of absorption or the amount of drug that reaches the systemic circulation. The extent of bioavailability can be determined by the following equation. F equal to AUC oral d IV upon AUC IV d oral, and Fr is equal to, next equation this one, Fr is equal to AUC test d standard upon AUC standard d test. Here d is equal to dose administered, the IV and oral indicates the route of administration, and test and standard is equal to indicate the test and the standard doses of the same drug to be determine relative availability. Next study is multiple dose study. In this method involves drug administration for at least 5 biological half-lives with a dosing interval equal to or greater than the biological half-life to reach the steady state. A blood sample should be taken at the end of previous dosing interval and 8 to 10 samples after the administration of next dose. I repeat it again. A blood sample should be taken at the end of previous dosing interval and 8 to 10 samples after the administration of next dose. Here the extent of bioavailability is given as the equation is Fr is equal to AUC test div T test upon AUC standard STD D test T standard. Again a repeated formula. Fr is equal to AUC test div T test upon AUC standard means STD T test T standard. Here T is equal to dosing interval. Here again I attached one video. This video the plasma level time studies will shown in graph. So please watch this video, you can understand easily.
Plasma concentration time profile curve. Now, when a drug is administered to any site, the drug is absorbed from the site of administration, then it is distributed all over the body. Finally, it is eliminated. If time to time blood samples are drawn and plasma concentration of unchanged drug in the blood is plotted versus time, then following type of graph is obtained, which is called as plasma concentration time profile curve. On y-axis, we will plot a plasma drug concentration. On x-axis, time is plotted, and the resultant curve is called as plasma drug concentration time profile curve. From this curve, various parameters are obtained, that is peak plasma concentration, Tmax, area under the curve, duration of action, onset of action, intensity of action, maximum safe concentration, minimum effective concentration, toxic level, therapeutic range. All these things are obtained from this curve. Now I will pause for a minute or two and you write down the answer of the question. What are the different pharmacokinetic parameters and pharmacodynamic parameters? Now I think you must have written the answer in your copy. So the answer is various pharmacokinetic parameters obtained are peak plasma concentration, time of peak concentration, and area under the curve. And various pharmacodynamic parameters obtained are minimum effective concentration, maximum safe concentration, onset of action, onset time, duration of action, intensity of action, and therapeutic range. So again, coming back to this graph, that is peak plasma drug concentration time profile curve. So various pharmacokinetic parameters. At first, Cmax. Cmax is the peak plasma concentration, that is also called as Cmax. That is means the maximum concentration of drug in the blood plasma is called as peak plasma concentration. Next is Tmax, time of maximum plasma concentration, the time at which maximum drug plasma concentration is obtained, that is called as Tmax. Area under the curve, total integrated area under this plasma level time profile curve is called as area under curve. Various pharmacodynamic parameters obtained are onset of action, that means the time at which onset of action when the drug shows a pharmacological response, that is starts showing pharmacological response is called as onset of action. And the time at which this pharmacological response is shown, that is called as onset time. Maximum safe concentration, that means the concentration of the drug above which it shows the toxicity or it reaches to toxic level, that is called as maximum safe concentration. Minimum effective concentration, the concentration of drug in plasma at which the pharmacological response starts and remains throughout the period, that is called as MEC. Therapeutic range, ratio of maximum safe concentration and minimum effective concentration is called as therapeutic range or therapeutic index. Duration of action, the time at which the concentration of drug remains above minimum effective concentration, that is called as duration of action. Intensity of action, maximum action shown by the drug, that is called as intensity of action. So besides this, during peak plasma concentration there are three phases: before peak plasma concentration, absorption phase; after peak plasma concentration, post absorption phase; and finally followed by elimination phase. So during absorption phase, absorption ratio is absorption rate is greater than elimination rate. Post absorption phase, absorption rate is less than elimination rate. At Cmax, absorption rate is equal to elimination rate, and during elimination phase, only absorption phase is over, only elimination occurs. So this is all about this peak plasma drug concentration time profile curve. Thank you.
Next study is urinary excretion studies. This method of assessing bioavailability is based on the principle that the urinary excretion of unchanged drug is directly proportional to the plasma concentration of drug. Determination of bioavailability using urinary excretion data should be conducted only if at least 20% of administered dose is excreted in the urine. This method involves collection of urine at regular intervals for a time span equal to 7 biological half-lives, analysis of the unchanged drug in the collected sample, determination of the amount of drug excreted in each interval. Here, three major parameters examined of drug excreted in excretion, that is dx by dt max. The maximum urinary excretion rate, it is obtained from the plot between rate excretion versus midpoint time of urine collection period. Its value increases as the rate of and extent of absorption increases. Here Tmax is the time of maximum excretion rate. It is analogous to the test Tmax of plasma level data. Its value decreases as the absorption rate increases. Next parameter is X0. the cumulative amount of drug excreted in the urine, it is related to the AUC plasma level data and increases as the extent of absorption increases. Here I given equations for calculating urinary drug excretion. I will give one video link in description, so please open that one also. You can easily understood about this studies. In next video we will discuss bioequivalence study design and IV IVC. Thank you.